I'm listening to nothing but Relient K for a week, but here are the rules. First one's obvious. I've got to listen to only Relient K, and I've got to make it through all of their projects, including singles. This time I am including Christmas albums, but not compilations. I'm going to have to rank my top 3 songs from each project, and at the end of this video, I'm going to have to cover one of the songs. Guys, you voted for this one. You went through a whole list of people and you voted for this one. How am I going to make it? Like, how am I going to listen to so much of this band? They're so over... Oh, this poster? That's not related. That's... Hey, you know what? You can stop. I don't want to... I said don't look at that poster. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Relient K real quick. All right, let's hop into this so you can hear a little bit about Relient K. So Relient K, let's just say that they were the pop punk awakening for a lot of Christian kids in youth groups. Somehow they made Sadie Hawkins dance like the anthem for youth groups. It was kind of crazy. In other words, before youth pastors were quoting like 21 Pilots, they were quoting Relient K. So these guys, they named their band after a Plymouth Relient K, and they purposely misspelled the word Reliant because they did not want to get in trouble. So that's pretty iconic. They formed in 1998 in Canton, Ohio. It was a bunch of high schoolers, Matt Thiessen, Matt Hoops, Brian Pittman on the bass, and some other rotating members that we'll talk about here in a second. But Thiessen wrote a lot of songs that were kind of like goofy, but also deep. So think of it kind of like Jesus Loves You, but I'm also kind of sad right now. In an interview with CCM Magazine, their longtime producer, Mark Lee Townsend, basically said that they were friends of his daughters, I believe, and that they just needed a CD made. So he started producing stuff for them, and he thought, man, these guys are good.
So bring him back the next morning, Thiessen, to do vocals, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, this guy's got some funny lyrics. There's some really intelligent, funny stuff going on here. So it kind of piqued my interest. I'm out on the road with Talk, and Toby's, all the time going like, hey, Townsend, you got anything? He knew I produced and stuff. He goes, you got anything, you want me to hear or whatever, or you got anything I could listen to? So I played him like 2 or 3 different things. And no offense, but some of them was musically just way ahead of Relient K, But then he heard that, and he heard, I think it was My Girlfriend, what ended up being that song, and he just thought it was funny. And so he's like, hey, let's start doing some demos. Maybe we can, put something together with that. So that's kind of how this started. They were friends with my daughters in the same youth group. I had to talk with the parents. Hoop's family are educators, and so it was kind of like, he was about to get a free ride into college because his parents were educators, right?
They released their debut album. Things went really well, but their drummer, I believe his name was Stephen Cushman, he was out after the first album and quickly replaced with Dave Douglas. And he's kind of the fan favorite. I've always really enjoyed Dave Douglas's voice. Not that I've thought about it that much. But then Brian Pittman left in 2004 and I believe is doing landscaping and was quickly replaced by John Warren, who was in a band called Ace Troubleshooter, and he was there for a little while. But they also picked up along the way John Schneck and Ethan Luck, which if you haven't listened to Ethan Luck's solo stuff, really fascinating. And they kind of joined in around the 5 Score and Forget and Not Slow Down era. We'll talk about those. So anyway, 2004, they explode with their album, mmhmm, with the song Be My Escape and Who I Am Hates Who I've Been. Truthfully, Relient K wasn't just like a band. They were kind of like a youth group rite of passage. So let me dust off my iPod and we're going to dive right into this. Day 1 is complete. 2 albums have been knocked out. I started with their self-titled album, Relient K. And this album feels so nostalgic, but it's interesting knowing the evolution that's going to come as we keep going. Even thinking about this versus their second album, It's so different. But there are a few things that we already see that are going to become the normal with Relient K. One is Matt's inclination towards lyrics. He's just a good writer. And here they're so young, but at the same time, his lyrics are so solid. They feel authentic, and there's puns and turns of phrase and pop culture references, and they're all worked in kind of masterfully. Masterfully? It's not like they were an experienced band. Again, they were really young, and now they were on Goatee Records and having to write music. Things with this album. The album mix is a little worse than I remember. Listening back, it was kind of like hard to hear some of the vocals, and some of the songs, they sounded kind of the same as each other, but it's still such a solid album. And again, it's their first album, and it took off, guys. Like, it did really well. Number 3 song for me is the opening track, Hello McFly. This is one of the first songs I learned to play on the bass. I still remember it. It is locked in my head. Number 2 is Staples. I remember liking this song when I was younger, and I remember liking this song today because it was really just amazing. And number 1 is Wake Up Call. I love the nylon string guitar that's at the beginning. I think the lyrics are extremely clever. I like the way the song builds and grows. This one feels to me the most modern, quote-unquote, Relient K that we get on the first album. I give this song on the Relient K scale a 6 out of 10. We've got to have some headway, somewhere to go. Next, we are at 2001's The Anatomy of the Tongue and Cheek. This is the first CD I remember my parents giving me. I remember getting it for Christmas and being like, what is this? I would have been like 8 years old, probably. I was just blown away by how much fun they were having. They were referencing pop culture. They were making puns in the lyrics. It was fun to listen to. It was so different than anything that I had listened to at that point. Matt is flexing his lyric muscles even harder in this second album. But this time, it's paired with really great production. I felt like this production held up so well listening back to it. It's just really crisp and really clean. I thought it was brilliant. In this album, there also seems to be foreshadowing artistically that this isn't just some young kids punk band. These guys are artists. There are pop culture references anywhere from Brian Wilson to Thundercats to Breakfast at Tiffany's, all the way to Star Wars. These guys are just having so much fun on this album, but they're talking about some really deep concepts too, with all of these weird comedic things happening. There's just so much that's done right about this album, but there are a few flaws, maybe just in lyrics or thinking, did this age well? I don't know. My number 3 song is Failure to Excommunicate. This is towards the back half of the album. It's a really good song. Number 2, and I might get judged for this, is Sadie Hawkins Dance. Jonathan, you didn't put Sadie Hawkins Dance as number 1? How could you? This song is a Relient K staple. However, I think it's sometimes a little overhyped for what it is. They've written some really great music. Sadie Hawkins Dance is fun, it's nostalgic, but to me it's not the number 1 song on this album. Not only that, but sometimes when I talk with people about Relient K, not that I talk about them a lot, that they just think Relient K is stuck at Sadie Hawkins Dance, and that's just how they forever picture this band. All right, my number 1 song is Pressing On, a classic. I still remember the music video for this song. I still remember Matt playing that like Firebird Gibson Thunderbird thing. I don't know. My brain can't remember what it is. Anyway, I'm landing like at a 7.5. I almost gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm going to stick with a 7.5. Okay, let's keep going. Welcome to day 2. I don't need your help. I don't need anyone's help. Everything is actually feeling perfectly fine. In fact, today I feel like we're really kicking into gear with the Relient K car. We're at the 2003 album, 2 Lefts Don't Make a Right, but 3 do. I remember going and purchasing this album for myself. I remember getting it later than when it came out, though, and I had like a white slipcase version of the album. It was like embossed on the front. Listening back to this album, it feels way more Relient K as we know it. They're goofing off, they're having fun still, but there's more serious stuff going on, and there's more serious musical stuff happening. But overall, the album's mood is just fun. I remember making a YouTube video back in the day to the song Forward Motion, where I kind of like reversed everything and did everything in reverse.
I've been banging my head against the wall.
That's all you're going to see of that video. Chapstick and Chap Lips and Things Like Chemistry, that's how the album opens, and what a killer song. I forgot how good that song was, even though I've listened to it many, many times. It's one of the first songs I actually remember learning on the electric guitar, or at least attempting to. Big contender for top song. Big contender for the cover at the end. Again, there's just so much to enjoy about this album. At times, it might feel clunky lyrically, but for the most part, it's super clever. The production is great, and the songs, they just leave you feeling like in a good mood. There's depth, there's humor, there's puns. What else could you ask for? Oh, and for you Relient K heads out there, I bet you thought I didn't even listen to the secret track at the very end of Jefferson Airplane. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know about the secret tracks in Relient K's catalog? Go to the end of Jefferson Airplane, forward into the track. It's going to be silent for a long time, and then you're going to get Silly Shoes. I have no clue what's going on in this song. They're rapping, they're singing about silly shoes. It's something. But I remember finding that song by accident because I left a CD playing at home. And there are more secret tracks in their catalog. We'll talk about them. Anyway, it's really hard to pick what my top 3 songs are, but I've got them. Number 3 is going to be Forward Motion. Number 2 is going to be Jefferson Airplane. I've always loved this song, and there's a great version of it coming up that we'll talk about. And number 1, Chapstick, Chap Lips, Things Like, I don't know, all 3 of these could be the cover. I like all 3 of these songs, but we haven't even gotten to some crazy music. Day 3, feeling good. Hey, wait, I'm not in my studio. Yeah, I know. It's because I'm traveling so much right now, guys, but I'm committed to this challenge. No one can stop me except for McDonald's. I'm gonna get a coffee. All right, so the album by Relient K, I'm having to go off the top of my head, I believe it's 2006. I remember this album feeling like it changed my life. I remember hearing the first song, the one I'm waiting for, and being like, what is this? And it also is on their run of albums where they're signed to Capitol Records and Goatee Records. And Goatee Records is owned by Toby Mac. Anyway, they're signed to Capitol Records. I remember hearing an interview where Matt Thiessen, he was saying that it felt really big because they were signed to the same place as the Beach Boys. Honestly, I love this album. I love every track. I love it front to back. And so my top 3 songs are going to be really big contenders for the cover. And they're also going to be really hard for me to pick because I like every song. First of all, album is a 10 out of 10 Relient K album. You heard me right, 10 out of 10. Beautiful, unbelievable, great feeling. I think my number 3 song is going to be Life After Death and Taxes. This song might be my favorite, but I just don't know if it's going to run up the rankings today. It could change tomorrow. My number 2 song has to be My Escape. I remember seeing this music video on like a Wow 2006 Hits music DVD thing, where you could watch like all of these latest like Christian genre music videos. I remember people like, oh my goodness, the walls are falling down and they're now in a field. My number 1 song is probably gonna be I So Hate Consequences. Might be a controversial pick because you've also got the one I'm waiting for, and you've also got High of 75. All great songs, but I just think that this song starts so strong with Dave's vocals, and it just feels so good all the way through it. It kind of surprised me that I picked this song as my number 1. This album is where a lot of piano starts coming into Relient K stuff. Like, it's always been present. I remember sitting down and learning those on piano because I love them so much. All right, on to day 4. Psych, I'm still in the car. I have nowhere to go. I've listened to so much music because of the travel, and now I'm traveling and I just need to do this. I may have this out of order, but next up we've got Let It Snow Baby, Let It Rain, Dear, the Christmas album, aka my favorite Christmas album. Look, I'm not a huge Relient K fan. Anyway, this is a great Christmas album. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, first of all, because there are a few songs that I'm like, about. Some of this was pulled from their Deck the Halls and Bruise Your Hands EP that they put out years and years and years ago that was more punk. I don't know that it fits like the Christmas vibe every single time. They're still fun to listen to. I digress. Anyway, my number 3 song on this album is gonna be Like a Lion, Always Winter. It's actually original, and I used to be like, oh, what is this song about? And then I read The Chronicles of Narnia. It's always winter, never Christmas, in Like a Lion. It's a really interesting reference. My number 2 song is going to be Sleigh Ride. I think this is almost a perfect rendition of it, but my number 1 song is going to be their version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, because it is absolutely gorgeous. It feels like I'm listening to the Beach Boys. Hey, stop asking why I bring up the Beach Boys so much. It sounds like the Beach Boys. I'm not going to cover any of the Christmas songs. So up next, we have the beautiful album 7 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, this is the last album put out on Capitol Records. I also believe there was an interview where the guys were talking about the fact that it felt like their last swing at staying on Capitol Records, potentially. I could be totally wrong on that. But this album does feel like a really big swing. I think this album has some of the best production, at least in a cleanliness way. Maybe not my personal favorite production, but a lot of really great production nonetheless. It's also a really long album and has the longest Relient K song on it. 7 years ago does feel like a little bit of them reaching into the mainstream market, trying to kind of like grab a hold of some of that audience while maintaining some of their punk and grunge feel. But then you've got songs like Must Have Done Something Right that they feel kind of like more radio accessible in a way. I don't know that I'm like a huge fan of that song specifically, but I remember learning the bass riff to it. Guys, if you can't tell, a lot of the music that I learned and a lot of the instruments I learned was because of Relient, not because I'm a massive fan. Stop saying that. I'm not leaning into the stereotype of homeschooler. Anyway, most of the instruments I learned were because of Relient K and the Beach Boys. Let's talk songs. It starts with Pleading the Fifth, a beautiful a cappella-led song. It's just, I think, a retelling of Abraham Lincoln getting shot, or at least a theater version of it. I don't know. It's really clever lyrics. This whole album's really clever and intense lyrics. Number 3 song, I Need You. This one, I've heard it live. Not that I've been to shows, okay? I've heard it live. And it's amazing. They do really well. It feels like just this cool rock song. Number 2 is Up and Up. I know that's like an out of left field pick potentially for people, but I think this song is so cool, so interesting. And there's another version of it coming up in the catalog. Not that I'm familiar with the catalog, okay? Number 1 is Deathbed. I think a lot of Relient K fans, not that I'm in there, would say that this song is one of their masterpieces. I mean, it's like 11 minutes long. It actually features John Foreman, but it also features Matt T playing like a ton of different instruments, I believe. This song feels like a big swing, and I feel like they deliver on it. It feels like this song is not 11 minutes long. If I really wanted to be, adventurous, I could cover this song. I don't know. That might not be a bad idea. I gotta think on that one a little bit. Anyway, let's end this thing. You thought it wasn't still in the car. That's crazy. Next up, we've got kind of a double album, or an EP plus an album. It is the Nashville Tennis EP and the Birds and the B-Sides. This is a big album of unreleased songs and archived things and acoustic versions. Personally loved this album. It's not like I have a signed postcard from where I pre-ordered this album back in the day. There's a lot of great songs that are forgotten about on here. I personally think this record is like an 8 out of 10. I'm not even lying. I think that this is an 8 out of 10 album. It's more of a mixtape, but we know that it's a mixtape going into it. And so that kind of makes it make sense. I almost just hit a bird. It's also the fact that the song You'll Always Be My Best Friend, was played at my wedding, guys. This song, I think it's really sweet. It's really short, and it works perfectly for some wedding ceremony time stuff. Anyway, I think my number 3 song is going to be Where Do I Go From Here, the opening track. In fact, there's an acoustic version of it on the 20th anniversary edition of mmhmm, but I really like this version on here. I also think my number 3 spot is tied right now with The Thief. There is a version of that coming up on one of the EPs that I'll talk about, but this version is my favorite. Number 2 is the acoustic version of Up and Up. I think it's beautiful. I like the song already. I think the acoustic version, it holds its own. And number 1 is the arguably better version of Jefferson Airplane, the acoustic version of Jefferson Airplane from Two Lefts Don't Make a Right, but Three Do. I truly think that the acoustic version is better than the original one. And I saw where they played this version of it at like a pop-up show in Nashville that I'm very sad that I missed. Not that I'm sad that I missed the show. I'm not. All right, that's all I got for today. I'm sitting here editing and I realized I forgot to rank the wonderful album Forget and Not Slow Down. I don't know what came over me, but this is actually my favorite Relient K album. It's 10 out of 10. My top song for the album is probably going to be Part of It or This Is the End. And then the other two, I would say number 3 is going to be Forget and Not Slow Down, and number 2 is going to be Therapy. I really like both of those songs. I don't know why I forgot to review it. I've literally got the poster. Not that I'm a fan. It's day 4. If you ever think I'm not dedicated to my craft, these videos are my craft, then why am I filming in a parking garage in my car, still listening to only Relient K? For day 4, we're covering Collapsible Lung from 2013? I might have gotten that date wrong. This album was controversial among fans. Not that I know that group. It was definitely more pop influenced, and it's also the first album, I believe, that's not produced by Mark Lee Townsend. He was the guitarist for DC Talk. We've talked about him previously. He's produced every Relient K album up until this point. And I think you can really tell because this album is really well produced. The guys who produced it, one of them has done stuff for House of Heroes and Leland and Third Day, very clean stuff. And then the other one is Aaron Sprinkle, who I am a fan of. Aaron Sprinkle was in a band called Fair. He has his own solo stuff. He's a longtime producer for Amberlin, including the album Cities. And I just think you can hear that in this album, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I do think this album is misunderstood. A lot of people hated on it. I personally did not hate on it and kind of enjoyed several of the songs, but it's definitely not like a top tier Relient K album if we're just being honest about it. Some of the songs feel like they're just reaching a little bit for the pop market, and that's okay, but it just didn't feel like Relient K for some reason to me, especially listening back to it after a couple of years of not listening to it. However, I do have 3 songs that I really enjoyed, and those 3 songs are my top 3. That was redundant. Number 3 is Boomerang. I think this one's fun. It feels very out of the ordinary for Relient K, but it is a good time to listen to. Number 2 is the opener track, Don't Blink. It feels more like Relient K than a lot of the other songs do, but the one that feels the most like Relient K is my number 1, Collapsible Lung, the title track, and the closer track. I like the message of the song. I think several of the songs flow. It almost feels like there's a story being told all the way through this whole album. Not that it's a concept album, but it does feel like the songs belong together in a weird way. So anyway, that's Collapsible Lung. Guess what? We're going straight to Air for Free, which I believe was released in 2016. I personally love this album. And truthfully, it's the last Relient K album that we've got so far. It's a pretty long album, but it doesn't feel long because the songs just move really well. Right away, the album starts with the song Bummin', which feels very, very Relient K. They're still pulling it off, but it does feel maybe like more matured. I don't know how to quite phrase what I'm looking for because I'm in the middle of a parking garage. Anyway, there's a lot on this album that I still listen to consistently. So, what are my top 3 songs? That's a freaking tough question. I'm having a hard time picking from this because it's like in the moment I have a hard time remembering. Number 3 is going to be Heartache, I think. I like how the song feels. I like the flow of it. It feels like updated Relient K. Number 2 is going to be Local Construction. I feel really strong about that pick. Local Construction, I think they also played and still play sometimes at live shows. And I think that shows that it's just generally a great song. I think the lyrics are really clever about, overlooking a skyline of work going on and then being like, there's work to be done in me. It's a fun idea. I had no doubt, though, that my number 1 song from this album is one that I don't know many people would pick, but it's the song Flower. I think Flower is one of the most beautiful Relient K songs they've ever released. It has rhythm changes, it has composition changes, it has these echoey, beautiful harmonies in it, reminiscent of the Beach Boys. It is honestly just a phenomenal song, one of my favorite Relient K songs of all time, and a decent contender for the cover at the end, truthfully, if I could even pull it off. All right, so ratings for Air for Free. I think Air for Free is an 8 out of 10 album, but there are singles and there are EPs to go through. Good thing I already went through all of them, but we're just going to cover them very generally. But I did listen to every single thing they put out, including singles from like Pop Goes Punk and VeggieTales compilations. It was a lot. Just to breeze through some of the EPs, we've got the Apathetic EP, which kind of feels connected to mmhmm in some ways. Great little EP of things. You've got songs like The Thief and The Truth. Great stuff. Enjoyable EP. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. We've also got EPs like the Valentine's EP that they released in 2018 or 2017 and the Creepier EP, which is a spin-off of a creepy EP that was put out before. Anyway, that one is no longer on any platforms, but a lot of it ended up kind of mixed into other things like the Birds and the B-Sides. The Creepier EP, 3 songs. Valentine's EP, 3 songs. Favorite from the Valentine's EP is Candy Hearts. Super cool. Favorite song from the Creepier EP is probably going to be The Cup because it is super catchy. Butterfinger Cup, Butterfinger Cup. I've had that one stuck in my head for a long time. Another standout single to me that we'll just cover really quickly is Look On Up, which was kind of written about phone usage and all of this stuff. They would play it at shows. People wanted it as a single. They finally released it as a single several years ago. It's a very cool song, but it feels like maybe more like Air for Free in its style. I've got to come clean because there's no way that I can continue to hide the inevitable, which is that I am a Relient K fan. I've been a Relient K fan for over half of my entire life. Way more than half of my entire... Look, I've got albums. I've got vinyls of every album right there. I've got more than that too. I've got to find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Look, I've got Relient K shirts. I've got Relient K shirts. I've got more shirts. I have a hat somewhere. I have a red hat from Air for Free. What I'm trying to say is that I can't hide it. That poster in my studio has my name on it because I was one of the people pre-ordering Forget and Not Slow Down in 2009 when you could get the poster with your name printed on it. I also have a special limited edition postcard from the Birds and the B-Sides with little signatures on it and a serial number. I've lost control, guys. I've lost control. The jig is up. This has not been a hard challenge for me. It's not been hard. All right, so now the question: which one am I covering? Because we've got things like Deathbed, 10 minutes, 11 minutes song. Seems super intimidating, but it's a beautiful song. We've got the song Flower from Air for Free, also a beautiful song. We've got songs like High of 75 that are classic. We've got Sadie Hawkins Dance. I mean, it's too much to cover. But here's what I will say. Relient K
makes me feel the way I felt in middle and high school. And one of the things that marked my time in middle school is that I did not own a cell phone. And I feel like there's something to be said about that.
Okay, so who doesn't have a cell phone? Who brought back their permission slip? Because I know nobody will stay home while the rest of us go out and make a day of it. Because theme parks are so much more fun when the sun's outside. And I lost my phone to the lake beneath the Batman ride. They're starting something. I don't wanna begin it. They're looking for trouble, but with me it won't be found. And I regret that I'm completely out of daytime minutes. And so I guess I'll have to wait a lot till 8 o'clock comes around. Okay, so who doesn't own a cell phone? Well, I don't need to ask my friends because I know mine was passing my jawbone. Thanks to all those nights and weekends. 'Cause theme parks are so much more fun when the sun's outside. And I lost my phone to the lake beneath the Batman ride. Yeah, they're starting something. I don't wanna begin it. They're looking for trouble, but with me it won't be found. And I regret that I'm completely out of daytime minutes. And so I guess I'll have to wait a lot till 8 o'clock comes around. When it comes to relationships, I'm the dumbest one. And I don't mean just with girls, I mean with everyone. Your illustrations always point out just what's wrong with me. It's chapstick and chap lips and things like chemistry. It's chapstick and chap lips and things like. It's chapstick and chap lips and things like.